Okay, hello, welcome back to my channel. So I told us I was going to make a video on personal responsibility. So we're going to start by watching a video together of Ben Shapiro, where he gave a response that I think was very interesting to a question that I thought was also very interesting. Okay, so let's see this together, and afterwards we will discuss this, talk about the details of everything he said, and we'll see what we get from there. All right, let's go.
Things that I wanted to share with you.
According to Pew Research, the net worth of white families in 2013 was $141,000. For black families, it was $11,000, even less than the $19,000 it was in 2007. According to economist Edward Wolf of the University of New York, excluding vehicles and other durables, the median black family worth is just $1,700, while 40% of black families have zero or negative wealth. White family worth, in terms of financial worth, is 69 times more than that of black families. Given this disparity, how can you argue that racism is not a driving factor in income inequality?
Because it has nothing to do with race and everything to do with culture. And when you have a culture that doesn't, you know what? Explain to me. You explain to me why black kids aren't graduating high school. Explain that one to me. Explain to me why black kids are shooting each other in rates significantly higher than whites are shooting each other. Explain to me why 13% of the population is responsible for 50% of the murder. Explain to me why the number of black kids in prison, not for innocent reasons, not for walking down the street and getting pulled into a prison, is so high. Explain, if it has nothing to do with culture, explain to me why the single motherhood rate in the black community jumped from 20% to 70% in the same course of time that the civil rights movement has made such tremendous strides. Is America more racist now than it was in 1960? And if it is, please explain to me how that happened.
When I first listened to this, oh my goodness, like, this is so true, and beyond being so but before being so true, it felt to me like a personal attack. Like I felt attacked. But then I paused for a moment and thought about it, and what this guy has just said is insanely correct. Just he said it with no empathy whatsoever. But for God's sake, we are adults, so well, you understand what I mean. You don't expect that someone else would pamper you, and we have a culture problem, and this same culture problem is there in every black community. My primary audience in this video are Nigerians, because most of the people I know are Nigerians. And I want us to talk about personal responsibility as it pertains to the things that go on in Nigeria as of today. So it's, oh my God. This is so painful and yet true. So painful and yet true. Okay, so let's get into it. And before I even get into dissecting what the things he has said and picking out what I think is important, would you say, if now, I'm pretty sure 90% of you guys who are watching this video did not invent, did I say 90%? Well, did not invent, vehicles, cars. But now we drive cars. Why would you not insist that, no, in my culture we always trekked, in my culture we always used horses, and so I would never accept a car? I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you have something in your culture that is messed up, and some other culture has a superior idea, are you going to insist that this is how my culture people do it, and so I must do it that way? That's what I'm going to continue to do. It's utter stupidity for you to see a better way to do things, and you continue to say you will do it some other way for sentimental reasons, and maybe in the process you lose a lot of money. If you find a superior idea, by all means adopt it. By all means, superior is superior, simple and short. So back to Ben Shapiro. So he said that in that question that was asked, it had nothing to do with race, but everything to do with culture. And I do agree with him 100%. I think we hold a culture that does not emphasize personal responsibility. We grant people pardon for misbehavior. As a matter of fact, we encourage misbehavior, and I will make my case soon enough. But let's go through what he listed. So Ben Shapiro questioned, why are black kids not graduating high school? Why are black kids shooting themselves at a rate significantly higher than all the others are shooting themselves? Why is 13% of the population responsible for 50% of the murder? By this he means the black community constitutes 13% of the US population, and yet are responsible for 50% of the murder in US. Why are there more black kids in prison for real crimes? Why has the single motherhood rate risen from 20% to 70% at the same time when the civil rights movement has, achieved so much success? If not culture, why are all these? Would you say it is race? If you say it's race, then we have a more difficult thing in our hands. My reason why those things, and which I think is what he's saying, is because of culture. We have a culture that encourages people, does not challenge people to be better. And this culture, we have our kids born into our society, into our black communities, and they grow in this culture and develop their belief. A belief established upon a faulty foundation of a weak culture. Our belief system lays the foundation for our perception of reality. They are the lenses through which we see and interact with the rest of the world. Your belief system literally dictates your life. It is the driver, not you. What you believe is the driver. And it does not matter whether or not you are consciously aware of your beliefs. They will make themselves manifest the very moment you are faced with a challenge. There will be a moment where your very life, whether you live or die, will be one false belief away. So imagine you get into this room and for some reason your mind picks that there is a door, an exit. And for some reason, an emergency, an accident occurs, an explosion, and you must exit this room or you die. Without thinking, you will find yourself headed straight in the direction that you perceived to be exit, only to get there and find out it's not the exit. You may not have the time to now reorient yourself and find where the actual exit is. That may be the end of your life. So you see, your belief does not negotiate with you, it dictates. For that reason, you see that we can't afford to have belief system established upon faulty foundation. Because when we do, as individuals, we will be totally laid open and defenseless as helpless preys waiting to be consumed the moment the predator shows up. What you will have as life is what I call fragile existence. It's just like a boy walking back from market carrying salt in a paper bag. As long as it does not rain, he will think he is fine. But as soon as the rain comes down, everything washes away. The way the Bible would say it is that some will build upon a solid rock and some on the sandy soil. When the wave comes, it washes the one on the sandy soil away. So you will not realize the difference until the waves come. The fact that you are not facing the problem yet does not mean you are fine. If you're full of dead wood, when the fire comes, you will be consumed. Totally. The only thing that will be left standing is your peace, which is not dead wood. So, and when I talk about wave here, don't think of it as like the actual water waves and stuff. Consider you want to go to a graduate school, you're doing a PhD, and you have not been trained for hard work. You will not be able to compete. You will not survive. That's your wave right there. You've grown up in a home where you are not trained to be able to handle relationships. You're not reliable. You're not trustworthy. You're unfaithful. You will be fine as long as you do not need a serious relationship. But the moment will come when you will realize that you can't abide alone and you will need to form a relationship. But you cannot. That's your wave. Your marriage won't work. If you get married at all, you won't have a relationship with your children. There are several ways our cultures have set us up to fail. So this is why it is important that we promote the right values. The right values, not easy ones, the right values. Okay, I'm going to take a case study of Nigeria to explain this further. I listened to Jordan Peterson, and he said that it does not just take a few, or it does not just take the leaders for a society to be corrupt. It takes the entire system being corrupt for a society to be corrupt. Okay, hear him for yourself.
The state became corrupted because each individual allowed themselves to be corrupted, or perhaps participated joyfully in the process of being corrupted. And the consequence of that was the end of the world. And so what that means is that if you don't behave properly, then you bring about the end of the world. And maybe you think, well, that's only the end of your world. Fair enough. Or maybe it's only the end of your family's world, which I suppose might give you some pause. But there's more to it than that, because you're connected to everyone else. And what you do that isn't good distributes itself, and all the things you don't do that could be good take away from the whole. And so if you know that, and I do think you know that if you take it seriously, because if you look at the historical events, the cataclysmic events of the 20th century seriously, I do not think that you can fail to come to that conclusion.
Okay, so that was Jordan Peterson. So, you see what he said? A state became corrupted because each individual allowed themselves to be corrupted, or perhaps joyfully participated in the process of being corrupted. So now you see the responsibility is fully on the individual. No one is corrupting you. You are allowing yourself to be corrupted, or you are joyfully participating in the process of being corrupted. And that's how we end up with a whole society that is corrupt. So Nigeria being corrupt today is not about Tinubu, Buhari, Obasanjo, Dave Umahi, all those guys. Yes, those guys, they might be corrupt, but that's not the reason Nigeria is corrupt. The reason Nigeria is corrupt is because each individual in Nigeria has allowed himself to be corrupted. That's the reason Nigeria is corrupt. You, me, we have allowed ourselves to be corrupted. If there is any chance to fix our society, we must uncorrupt ourselves. It's not going to be easy, but that's the only solution. And to bring this home, let me address several aspects of our society where we have suffered the consequence of our corruption. Let's start with the current events in Nigeria. We are in the political season, electoral season. Tinubu has been declared the president-elect by INEC. INEC is the body that conducts election in Nigeria, for those of you who are my non-Nigerian subscribers. So now we have basically two camps, the Obi camp and the Tinubu camp. The Obi camp are against the Tinubu camp, the Tinubu camp against the Obi camp. So the election was a total mess. Election has always been messed up in Nigeria, but this one is the apex of whatever way you decide to measure messed. You go to the IREF portal, which is the place where they upload polling unit level results, so that you have the number of votes for each candidate in that particular polling unit. You see that people who voted in polling units took pictures of the results, and then you go to the IREF portal, you see that it is that result, but totally mutilated with pen, cancelling, changing figures. The results look like primary one math exam sheet for a very dull student. Totally messed up. And the guy who organized this election is a professor. But the people in the Tinubu camp, as far as they are concerned, this does not matter. As long as Tinubu has won the election, this is fine. Elections have always been corrupt in Nigeria. In fact, this is the best election we have ever had. Jesus Christ. This is live from the pit of hell. These guys are pure liars. In fact, I think Satan would be learning from them. If Satan hears this, he will scream Jesus Christ. Now those on the Obi camp are appearing now to be like the righteous guys who are on the path of truth. And you would think that they care about truth. They are the ones now saying, look at this cannot be accepted, this is unacceptable, this is wrong, this election is rigged, we need to do something about it. Absolutely correct. But that's besides the point right now. You will think that the reason they are screaming out loud is because they care about the corruption. But they don't. And I can prove it to you. Some of Obi's supporters, most of Obi's supporters, were willing to accept the false interpretation that someone must win 25% in Abuja to become president. How can people tell themselves so much lie? That is a false interpretation, by the way. But let's suppose it is the case that that's what we have in the Constitution. Do you not see what's wrong with that? Are you telling me that you cannot see now that if, unfortunately for us, someone like Wike finds his way to Aso Rock and becomes president, and you arm him with the fact that somebody must win 25% of Abuja to become president, this means that whoever this guy wants as president will be the next president, because all he needs to do is to make sure that the person wins Abuja and no other person gets 25% in Abuja. And you cannot challenge me that this is possible. You can see what happened in Rivers. So we will surrender our democracy to an evil man by just reducing the amount of work he has to do to destroy us, by just saying Abuja must give 25% before you're president. And those who claim to be supporters of Obi are happy and jumping up and saying that, yes, Tinubu did not win 25% of Abuja. Can you see the falsehood? And to tell you that they knew they were lying, the INEC totally ignored them and went ahead and declared Tinubu winner without the Abuja. And nobody challenged INEC. Nobody ever said anything else about Abuja. Like, they all just shut up because they knew. But they were willing to sacrifice that so long as they would get their man in power. So we're all just the same sort of people. Evil. We don't care about the truth. People are corrupt and lying to themselves. And you think the system would be better? The system is bad as long as it does not favor you. As long as it favors you, the system becomes good. Swap the case around, by the way. Put now the Obi camp and the Tinubu camp on opposite sides, where now Obi has been declared winner and Tinubu camp declared losers, let's say. The Tinubu camp who are right now saying that this election is perfect and is the best, they will immediately turn around and begin to give you all the analysis of why this election is flawed. And they would be correct. The Obi camp will turn around and be saying the exact same thing the Tinubu camp is saying now. So you see, like, we have not even begun to think about fixing the country. It's just tribalism everywhere. At the national level, we discriminate regionally. So if you come to the Nigeria level, we start having Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, Tiv. That's how the lines of discrimination at national level. And when you see that, you will think that, oh, the Hausas love themselves. Oh, the Igbos love themselves. The Yorubas love themselves. Big lie. Big lie. Okay, let me go down to the Igbo. So one more step further. Because I'm Igbo, that's why I'm going down there and know more about that. If you come to the Igbos, we now have 5 states. Ebonyi, Enugu, Abia, Imo, Anambra. Clear divide. We don't accept one another. Superiority contest. Everyone thinks he's better than the other person and that there is something wrong with the other person. So now, and you will now say, oh, Ebonyi people love themselves, Imo people love themselves. Big lie. Come to Ebonyi. We now have Abakaliki and Ebonyi South. If you come to the Abakaliki axis, you have Izi, Eza, Ikwo, Mbo. You go to the south side, and you know some other people. You go to the south, you have Afibo, Ohozara, Uburu. And there is a total divide between the north and the south in Ebonyi, under Igbo, under Nigeria. Of course, when we go higher, we now say white people, black people. But this is just a lie. So, inside Ebonyi right now, the gubernatorial election will be this coming Saturday. Guess what? Every group have their own candidate, and that's how the line of support is drawn. Izzy people are supporting Izzy candidate. Obose people are supporting Obose candidate. Just wherever you're from, your people are supporting you. No one is talking about competence. No one is asking people what they want to do. No one is asking any of such questions. It is, he's from my side. And you would think he loves that guy, but we can go several steps further and you will see that this system is just thinking. It's just thinking. How do we hope to... We lie to ourselves. We lie to ourselves. When are we going to stop deceiving ourselves? So you see, Tinubu is not the problem. Obi is not the problem. Buhari is not the problem. You who are watching this video, you are the problem. Tell yourself the truth. Stand on the path of truth. We cannot have any better outcome than the one that the truth will give to us. It may not be immediate, but if there is any chance at all that we will survive, it will be when we stand on the path of truth, not only when it favors us. Let me give an example of how our self-deceits have been responsible for a lot of disaster in the history of our country. Think about the Civil War. During the Civil War, well, growing up as an Igbo boy, I always, heard about the Civil War. It's a bitter story. Igbo boy will have to hear about when he's growing up. I always thought that the whole country was at war, like during the Civil War, the whole country was at war. It must have been something. But upon research, I found that while the Civil War was going on and people were being annihilated in the southeastern part of Nigeria, the rest of the country, the other parts of the country, were going on about their normal life. I mean, normal, going to clubs, getting married, celebrating birthdays, normal. And when I found this out, I was so angry. I was devastated. But it didn't take long for me to realize that I too have been guilty of the same sort of behavior. I grew up in the Southeast. Since my teenage years or so, there has been this issue of Boko Haram in the northeastern part of Nigeria. And I've gone on, finished secondary school, gone to university, graduated, gotten a job, gotten married, I now have some kids. Like, I have gone about my life normally, having fun. Whereas in the northeastern part of Nigeria, we have the Boko Haram crisis. And thinking about the Biafra situation that I watched on TV, I came to realize that, wow, the people in the northeast are going through exactly the same sort of situation that the Biafrans went through. Only that this time they're going through this situation without any hope for an end. The Boko Haram group have, captured that region of Nigeria, and people are living in hell. The rest of us have gone about our normal businesses as if this did not concern anyone. Fast forward to 2020, there was the EndSARS movement in Lagos, where the military shot at the youth. And guess what? The North saw it as southern thing. Would you blame the North? You see, like how the lies we tell ourselves, whenever the opportunity arises for us to pay for it, we pay fully. People die because we won't tell ourselves the truth. At the very point in time when you're benefiting from a lie, you will think that life is beautiful. But it won't be long. It will be your turn and you will be in a mess. Why, as a country, would the rest of the country be going on normally when a particular part of the country is not even livable, and yet people live there? These are some people's ancestral, everything they know, every connection they have with anyone in their lineage past is there. We go about our normal lives. No, that is not correct. So, the first step we must take for any hope to fix our country, to fix the world, before you start to say white people did you this, white people did you that, or this group did you that, this group did you that. First of all, be honest to yourself. Become a slave to truth. It must not always be beautiful. In fact, 99% of the time it will not be sweet. So nobody's talking about sweetness here. The truth will give the best possible outcome you will have. You can try not telling the truth and you will see. Maybe you will escape as a person, but your child won't, or your child's child won't. So we must first start by being honest to ourselves. You must remove the log of wood in your own eyes before you want to pick out the pieces in another person's eyes. Some of us believe the excuse we make is that we do not see the difference our small contribution will make. So, well, even if I tell the truth, how will it change the system? The system is so corrupt. So, I better just get what I can. Better just get what I can is the reason. Since you have been alive and in Nigeria, we have always been talking about corruption and people stealing money, traveling, and all that. In the next 1 million years, if people continue in the same behavior as you and I have, we will be in the same place. As a matter of fact, we will be in a worse place. And those who have decided to take their lives into their hand, like the West, will be moving, fast. And you know what the Bible says, how that to him that has, more will be given. To him that does not have, even what he has will be taken and given to those that have. This is the risk we take when we refuse to take the path of truth immediately. And the path of truth is not you changing others. The path of truth is you changing yourself. Personal responsibility. Do not make excuses for why you must, do not make any excuses. This is just lies. It will not benefit you anything. For some tiny moment, you will feel like you're there. But really, you're not. You're just like a stock trader who is up 3x now and liquidates in the next hour.